My father worked the night shift at the city crematorium for 9 years. He used to say the dead were easier to deal with than the living. Until that night. It was almost 3 a.m. when he came home. I was still awake, scrolling on my phone in the dark. The front door opened slowly, like he was afraid of the sound it might make. I heard him take off his shoes in the hallway. Then nothing. Just silence. When I walked into the kitchen, he was standing by the sink with the light off. His hands were under the running water, but he wasn't washing them. He was just holding them there. Dad. He didn't turn around. Something happened, he said. His voice was flat. I don't know how to explain it. He sat down at the table. I turned on the small light above the stove. His face looked wrong. Not pale, exactly. More like the blood had stopped moving under his skin. He poured himself a glass of vodka. He almost never drank after work anymore. That alone told me it was bad. There was a woman, he started. Came in around 11. Young. Mid-30s maybe. She had already called ahead. Said her daughter died yesterday. Wanted the cremation done immediately. No service. No viewing. Nothing. He took a sip. She kept looking at the clock. Kept asking how long the whole process would take. When I told her the paperwork needed to clear first, she offered me money. Cash. Right there in the office. Said she didn't care about the certificates or the waiting period. She just needed it done tonight. I asked him if he took the money. He shook his head. I told her no. Twice. The third time she looked at me, I can't describe it. It wasn't anger. It was something colder. Like she was calculating how much of a problem I was going to be. He finished the glass in one go. An hour later, the coffin arrived. If you can even call it that. Cheap pine. Nailed shut with way too many nails. The kind of box people use when they don't want anyone looking inside. And it already smelled. Not the usual smell. Something thicker. Sweeter. Wrong. My father worked with bodies for almost a decade. He knew the difference between normal decomposition and whatever this was. The woman refused to leave while we processed it. She stood in the corner of the loading bay the entire time. Didn't cry. Didn't speak. Just watched. When I told her we still had to open the coffin for identification, she said, "We've already said goodbye." Just like that, flat. He rubbed his face with both hands. Ivanovich and I carried the box to the retort room. The smell got worse the second we started pulling the nails. By the time the lid came off, Ivanovich stepped back and covered his mouth. My father stopped talking for a long time. The kitchen was completely silent except for the refrigerator humming. She was young, he finally said. Maybe 22. Pretty face. But the rest of her, the skin on her stomach and thighs had already started to turn. Dark patches. Like she'd been dead for a week, maybe more. The death certificate said she died less than 30 hours earlier. He looked at me, and her eyes were open. I felt something cold move down my spine. We checked the paperwork 3 times. Everything matched. Photo, name, date. The director had already signed off. So we did what we always do. We closed the lid. We loaded her. I pressed the button. He poured another glass, but didn't drink it. 20 minutes in, the temperature dropped. Not by a little. The gauges showed a sudden fall of almost 200 degrees. That's not supposed to happen. The system is designed to keep climbing. Ivanovich thought it was a sensor error. He went to check the side panel. My father's voice got quieter. That's when we heard it. He stared at the table. A sound from inside the retort. Not the usual crackling of wood or the pop of joints. Something else. Like fingernails. Dragging slowly across metal. Then a soft, wet impact. Like someone had thrown a heavy piece of meat against the wall of the chamber. He swallowed. I looked through the small observation window. The flames were still there, but they were moving wrong. Pulling inward. Like something in the center was drawing them in. And for half a second I saw a shape. Not lying down. Sitting up. The glass in his hand was shaking now. I hit the emergency override. Full heat. Maximum. The system screamed warnings. Ivanovich was yelling at me to stop. that we could damage the retort. I didn't care. I kept it at maximum for 40 minutes longer than protocol. He finally drank the second glass. When it was over, we opened the chamber. There were ashes, bone fragments. Everything looked normal almost, except one thing. He looked up at me. His eyes were red. The metal identification tag we put on everybody, the one that stays with the remains the entire time. It was bent completely in half, like something had folded it with force. And there were deep scratches on the inside of the chamber door, fresh ones, from the inside. My father was quiet for a long time after that. Then he said, almost in a whisper, "The woman never came back for the ashes. We called the number she left. Disconnected. The address on the paperwork didn't exist. The death certificate, the hospital that issued it, has no record of that patient." He stood up slowly, walked to the sink, and washed his hands again. This time for real, scrubbing hard. "I've cremated children. I've cremated people who died in fires. I've seen things that would make most people quit on the first day. But I've never once felt like something was looking back at me from inside the flames." He turned off the water and dried his hands. "And the worst part," he said, looking at me in the dark kitchen, "is that when I got home tonight, I checked the back seat of my car before I came inside." He paused. "I don't know why I did that." He went to bed after that. Didn't say another word. I stayed in the kitchen until the sun started coming up. I kept listening to the house, every small creak, every shift of the floorboards, because somewhere between the moment he told me about the temperature drop and the moment he mentioned checking the back seat of his car, I realized something. My father wasn't just scared of what happened at work. He was scared that whatever was in that box hadn't stayed there.